You know, you guys, sometimes there's just these moments where you think of something and all of a sudden you're struck by inspiration. Like, yes, this is a topic that just needs to be discussed. A topic that we can talk so much about. But I'm just very uncreative right now, and this was the only thing that came to me, and I was like, we can talk about this, can't we? Well, I think I can.
I totally agree, and we did not plan this whatsoever. Nope.
Well, we planned this for an hour, maybe. Honestly, I just was thinking I wanted to do more rant videos than the one I did about Persona 5, but I also want to do not everything. It should not be negative, because I really love the Persona series, and I want to talk about something possibly positive about it. And there were so many topics that came to me, but none of them were either both critical but also positive, until I happened to bring this up to Triple. So, as it happens, the director of the Persona series, Katsura Hashino, who's been directing the games ever since Persona 3, who's responsible for the last large shift in style of the games that we've seen between the 2 duology, the Persona 2 duology, and the current style of Persona games. He quit the Persona team to move on to newer pastures, not necessarily greener pastures, but do something new. And I understand that, because I understand after doing something for so many years, you want to go and try something new. You don't want to be stuck with the same thing once and for all. But that leaves us the question, now that we have yet another change in leadership, in creative direction on the Persona team, like we did so many years ago, what kind of effect is this going to have on future games? And I thought we should probably discuss this for a bit.
And now we are.
So, Triple, give your take.
So, let me just preface this by saying that I never played the first 2 Persona games, and that includes both Persona, both parts of the Persona 2 games. I never really touched those. So I joined the series with Persona 4, and then I went back and played 3. So that's the perspective I'm going at this from. And what was very special about Hashino's Persona series to me was just the general sense of you can approach the story in either as by playing as if you were the character that is in the game. That's the Silence protagonist, after all, and many players probably do, and place themselves in the Persona games as from their perspective and all that. And also, you can, especially later on, they do this with Persona. They add a predetermined character, sort of, that already has some sort of personality. That's what the spin-off games do.
Yeah.
With giving him an actual canon name and all that. Mm-hmm. And I found that very interesting with the Atlas Persona games.
Well, it's all Atlas, but Hashino Persona games.
Yeah. And that's what I found really intriguing.
The way it handled this. Yeah, I have to agree there. I do like Satomi Tadashi's Persona games a lot, but I also have to say I really prefer Hashino's style, because as you said, what Hashino does really good is integrating, not necessarily actually making the player feel like they have there's a whole different beef I have with this, because with having an effect on the game world, because let's face it, you don't really. But it does make it easy for you to relate to what is going on, which is a problem I have with the earlier games, that you don't necessarily relate to what is going on. You experience it, but more as a player, a viewer than an actual part of the plot. While the later games actually, they don't, I wouldn't say force you, but they give you incentive to get very invested in what happens to this world.
Mm-hmm. And if I can give a take on the older Persona games from my perspective, as I said, I never played them, but would you agree that the older Persona games are more about the kind of bizarre atmosphere, or like it feels very fantastic. Like there's like this big fantasy.
That is true. You can still feel a lot more Shin Megami Tensei in the older games, because, well, even though they carried the name on with Persona here for a while for some reason, in Japan, in the game's Persona was never really considered to be the same series as Shin Megami Tensei, yet you could still feel so much of its influence in the early games. And the newer games mostly did away with that. It's giving Persona a completely different style from Shin Megami Tensei, which to my opinion only means that giving them the Shin Megami Tensei title in the West was really it worked to their detriment, because it downplayed the individual strengths of both series.
Yeah, although with Persona 5, they did kind of return some aspects of it, especially the whole negotiating with demons thing. That was an aspect that Shin Megami Tensei originated with, if I remember right.
That is true, and I like that, because I think they could have done it better, because I think that the demon conversations were better in the older games than they were in Persona 5, but I really appreciate that they still used the idea again. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think Hashino at least didn't want the Persona series, to be completely detached from Shin Megami Tensei, because it was a spin-off.
Well,
yeah, started off as a spin-off anyway.
There's also this thing that Hashino himself, he started at Shin Megami Tensei. He was a programmer at Nocturne, and he took a lot of his experience from Nocturne over to Persona 3. So you can still feel a lot of Nocturne's influence in Persona 3 too. Which...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially gameplay-wise. Not necessarily story-wise, but gameplay-wise you could feel a lot. Well, maybe also that they also kept the Moon Phases system still and integrated into the plot, more or less. But yeah, I think we both agree that the Persona games, regardless of which era we're talking about, have always been pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, a lot of people will claim, no, the older games were better or the newer games were better. Personally, I just think it's two different play styles and story styles that augment each other and that both have a good reason to exist. So that, of course, leaves the question, what is going to happen now? Because now what I actually hope is going to happen is that we have another shift like this now, and we get something that is still Persona, just like the new Persona games were still Persona, but in a completely different way. That's what I hope, personally.
It's way too early to tell what's going to happen, because obviously Atlus are, at the time of recording this, they're still busy with
the spin-offs.
Developing spin-offs, yes. Which I love the dancing games, so
yeah, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. Especially because I was a little worried at first, because oh no, please, are they going to try do the same story again? But then it was like, no, this time it's not going to have a story, and I was like, phew, this works. Okay, good. Because I loved the story in Persona 4 Dancing All Night, but I don't think it's something that can be done with two different games at once at the same sort of quality. So I'm glad they're instead going with skits. I'm glad that they're instead going with skits.
Oh, is that confirmed?
Yeah. They instead instead of a story mode, they have like a skit mode.
I think that would work better, actually. Yeah. It begs the question what kind of story they would even do, because it would risk overstaying its welcome if it just tried
to be Persona 4 dancing again.
Yeah, and I don't think even the Persona 3 fans necessarily would appreciate that.
No, nobody would appreciate that, because we had that story already and it was good, but we don't need it 5 times.
Yeah, like what else can you really do without making it seem forced?
Well, actually, I came up with a possible story for a Persona 3 Dancing All Night. But honestly, with 2 games at once, you can't do that. No.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fun. As for what will happen next in
The main series, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's so hard to say. I do agree that I would like to see a different take, because Persona 5 feels like it kind of culminated in what Hashino wanted to do. Like, it just blended so many things together at once. From Persona 3 to Persona 4, and to some degree even the older games as well.
That's true. I mean, I already said before on a previous video, on the previous rant video actually, that Persona 5 is not my favorite, and I think it's supposed to be on a technical level, it's the crown jewel of the Hashino era, and I think Hashino did what he really wanted to do. But personally, it wasn't to my taste quite, which is another reason why I'm really interested in seeing what the new director is going to do.
Yeah, it really. Yeah, like there's a lot of possibilities.
I'm just personally. While we're talking about new director, there's also the fact that we still don't know who the new director is going to be. And do you know any people in the Persona team? I know a few who could possibly be it.
You probably know more than I do, to be honest.
My hopes are on Azusa Kido, who's one of the most prominent female staff members. She's a writer who's also directed Persona 3 Portable and was mostly responsible for the creation of the female root in pretty much all of its facets. And she also wrote pretty much all of Persona Q by herself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was brought in doing Persona 3, but didn't have too much of an influence doing that. But with Persona 4, starting Persona 4, she's a driving force behind the creation of the social links. And I think I really like her style. As I see it in Persona 3 Portable, and as I saw it in Persona 3 Portable and in Persona Q, I just really, really like her style. I mean, yeah, she has problem juggling a lot of characters, as you could see in Persona Q with Persona Q's weaknesses, but her strengths really outweigh the problems she has, in my opinion. And like, it would just be so cool to have her on the helm for this. I mean, there's obviously the feminist aspect of it, that she's a woman, and having a woman as a director on a Japanese game is really rare, so it would be really cool.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you in that aspect. Like, I didn't know that she wrote Persona Q. That's really cool. So I'm right there with you on that one.
Yeah.
I would not mind at all.
The other person who's possible is the one who's also gonna be the director of the 2 new dancing games now. I forgot his name. Hold on for a moment. Let me just check for a moment. Director, Persona 3 dancing. Hopefully. So, let's see who's the director. It was something with W. So what's the name again? They don't say here on, because of course Polygon doesn't give you the information you really want. Because of course Polygon doesn't. Kazuhisa Wada. Oh, it says producer. Anyway, yeah, Kazuhisa Wada has also been, like, he's written a lot of the arena games, and he's also done a lot on Persona 4 Dancing All Night. So, it's very possible that I think it's from the Persona team, those are the 2 people who stand out the most, who, when there's interviews and it's not Hashino holding the interviews, it's usually one of these 2. So it feels to me like those 2 are the best bets for the possible next director. And I really hope it's gonna be Kido, but I would also be glad with Wada, honestly.
Here's the thing though, with Wada doing the dancing games, did he directed them, right?
Produced.
He did.
Produced, and I think he also did some of the writing.
Oh, so he did write for it. Okay.
I think he did some of the writing. Then again, with the Persona team, the thing is, there's no one person writing everything, except for the case of Persona Q, where it was mostly just, well, not even there. It's usually the writing on the Persona games, from what I can tell, is ever since after Persona 2, it has been a very collaborative effort with, like, with Hashino giving the basic outline and the rest of the team, including Soejima, working out the details. But of course, the writers themselves are the ones who put it to dialogue.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm asking is the dancing games are a bit less story-focused than Persona Q is, I would argue, since Persona Q borrows a lot from Etrian Odyssey.
That's
so
true.
I would think Wada would have to do a lot more planning with the story. Then again, the story wasn't that complex, but
I like the story of Persona 4 Dancing All Night a lot, but that's just me.
oh yeah, sure, it's not bad. It's just Persona Q has a lot more to
Yeah, that's true.
juggle, I would say.
Juggle is the right word, because even I read an interview with Azusa Kido the other day where she actually admits that it was hell juggling almost 20 playable characters in every single scene, and that she really, really had to trick around to make it work.
I can picture it.
Yeah. That's pretty much all the problems people have with the writing of Persona Q are simply because Kido... And I can tell from experience, when you have so many characters on screen and they all need to be visible and nobody needs to fall by the wayside, it becomes almost... it becomes a chore.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's why a lot of the side quests focus on individual characters, like having a specific scene for themselves. And
Exactly, and those are the...
just giving each of them a chance to shine.
and those
on their own.
are some of the better scenes in the game in most people's opinions.
I would agree with that. It makes them stand out a lot more.
Yeah, I like the side quests a lot, and you can tell whenever the game is focusing on specific characters, it's a lot better. So, yeah, I think if Kido could really handle a Persona game well herself. I mean, she showed that with the female route too, with the female Persona 3 route. She showed that she can do that. I mean, it wasn't that a whole, but she changed a lot in that.
Yeah. And I would like to see, if only because I would like to see more another female protagonist in Persona. That would be cool.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We haven't. It's really a shame because Dancing All Night was mostly female dominated. That was cool. I actually think the female protagonists in the Persona games usually have more personality than the male protagonists. Maya Amano had a lot more personality than Tatsuya. Aigis had a lot more personality, and the female MC had a lot more personality. It's weird because they keep giving us male protagonists while making it infinitely clear that they're having a lot more fun writing the female protagonists.
Or at least giving them more of a
Personality, yeah.
Yeah. Although I would say the Persona 5 protagonist is by far the most emotive of the male protagonists. Though that doesn't say much.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of you in a lot of ways, but he's like, if you was more bad boy, you're a bad boy.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
But before we get off track, regardless of who takes over, what we do want, we have agreed, what we do want is to see a new take on the series, and not somebody just trying to copy Hashino, right?
Yes, I would say so, yes.
And our reason for that is pretty clear, because we have experience with other series trying to do that, and Ace Attorney.
Ace Attorney.
I'll let you start here. Yeah.
This one is a doozy.
Yeah, this one is a doozy.
Okay, so what my experience with the Ace Attorney fandom is that either the Ace Attorney Investigations series is your favorite part, or it's your least favorite part.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen from the fan base in general. And well, there's a reason for that, I suppose. So for those who don't know, the Ace Attorney series has had two teams, more or less, like two directors. Shu Takumi, who created the series, no longer works on the main series. And Team Yamazaki, which created the Ace Attorney Investigation series, is now in charge of that main series. You either love that or hate that.
Or you are
There's
like,
no-
why though?
Yeah, something
That's
along
me.
those lines.
That's me, but why though? The thing is just Takumi is a mystery writer at heart. He even started out trying to write a mystery novel, but he eventually just changed plans to making a game. And you can tell that because he structures and writes his stories like a novel. And that's what gave the series its special flair, because they were so novel-like. And I feel like Yamazaki and his team don't quite understand that.
Yeah, it's yeah.
They have a tendency to
jumping.
try to make everything bigger and grander and more interconnected and add more stuff here and there and more gimmicks, without understanding what made these things work in the Prime series proper. Like, for example, Investigations is a good example, because they had this huge conspiracy plot about diplomatic corruption that's taking over the world, and they tried to tie in some heart by tying it into the character arc of Kay Faraday. But the problem is, they didn't actually develop Kay Faraday's character in any way, and you could feel that they were just having this plot for the sake of being bigger and grander, but they didn't understand why it would have worked if Takumi had done it. It's like a lot of the things don't necessarily feel soulless, but you can't feel quite the heart behind them that you feel with Takumi's works. And to bring this back to why we bring this up here, it's because they're trying to do what Takumi does. They are doing these quirky characters like Takumi had them, with these quirky gadgets like Takumi had them, and oh my god, the quirky sidekick character like Takumi had them, without understanding why Takumi had these things. Because he didn't have them for the sake of having them, but he had them tied into a greater picture. And that's something that I think is a problem. The problem is they are just trying to emulate Takumi without actually being Takumi.
Well, in my mind, the problem is that they try to do what Takumi does without trying to do what Takumi does. It's like continuing the Ace Attorney series, sprinkling what the earlier games had, and then just do a complete 180 and doing nothing. Like, it's hard to explain. It made more sense in my mind, but it's like they look at what the earlier games did, and then they just do something completely different, even though it contains the same things. Like, yeah, they have the quirky characters, yeah, they have the quirky jokes and all that, but the whole story structure is just completely different.
I actually think that, like, the Yamazaki team they have some competent writers on there, but I think they're held back by trying to be trying to please Takumi's fan base. I think if they did their own project without being tied to Ace Attorney or tied to anything that any continuity already established, they could have their very own style, and it could be very unique and very cool in its own right without ever being compared to Ace Attorney. But it feels to me like it's just holding them back, you know? And
yeah, I think so too.
That's what really worries me, because just imagine the Persona games that were created by Hashino were extremely popular, and they will want to replicate that success. But what if they just tell them if the new director is just like, so Hashino really worked well and we don't want to upset his fan base, so let's just try to keep doing Hashino games without Hashino actually being there.
Yeah, and it's really what that is about, like the whole idea of copying the success.
Yeah.
I think that's what Capcom wants to do. They just want to copy the success.
And that's
Takumi and something else that Takumi wants to do.
Oh yeah, that's right. Takumi wanted to do completely different things, and they derailed this as much as they could by not giving Ghost Trick any marketing whatsoever.
Yeah.
They just wanted to force him back into Ace Attorney with all their might. Even though Ghost Trick.
And it's sad because Ghost Trick.
It was great.
It's amazing.
I still want to do a video on that one because it's one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's the best. It's the best written game I've ever played. The best written game I've ever played. No question.
I think it's the most coherent visual novel there is out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a marvel. Anybody of you guys who hasn't played Ghost Trick yet, why haven't you? Get out there. It's on phone. Get it.
Yeah, there's no excuse anymore.
Yeah, it's... Basically, I just don't want... Persona survived one transition in writer and director before. And it survived it really well. Because what they did wasn't that they did not... Specifically, I know a lot of people are angry about the style change, but the reason why Persona went through the style change so well as it did is because Hashino did not try to copy Satomi Tadashi, but he respectfully embraced Tadashi's lore but did his very own thing with it. And I think that's what you need to do to make a good follow-up with a new director. And I really, really hope the next person isn't like, I need to try and be Hashino now. Please don't.
Yeah, as the message of Persona is, you need to embrace your own style.
Yes! Please!
And that's what it's all about.
I really hope they just... the new director, may it be Kido or Wada or whoever else they come up with, needs to do their own take on the series. It needs, even if it alienates some old fans and might bring back some even older fans who were alienated from the series before, it needs to be something new.
New, or at least its own brand of Persona. Like
exactly.
Keep the series innovative and fresh. That's why it's so beloved, because it dares to try new things.
Yeah,
like
that's one thing. That's one thing I didn't like about Persona 5, that it didn't feel quite as daring to me, as weird as that sounds to me, because it mostly felt like Hashino's final exam to me. Like Hashino was just trying to perfect what he had already done with the past games. So...
And I can see why he would do that.
Exactly. He had a right to do that.
Yeah, like he knew what his fans liked, and it was basically a send-off gift to them, it felt like to me.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, basically, I really, really want to see what a new creative mind can do, where a new creative mind can take this universe, this greater overarching storyline of humanity struggling against its own rises, and what new heights we can reach. I mean, we've done so many amazing things. We've done a fighting game that was actually pretty amazing, even though nobody thought it could work. I mean, it ended up with Ultimax, which we don't talk about, but...
I can talk about Ultimax all day. It's
Ultimax is the sad thing is Ultimax, the plot on paper is great. The execution is terrible. Oh god, I hope nobody writing on Ultimax ends up... Nobody of the people that they got writing on Ultimax, even though they didn't write anything beforehand, end up writing for... Then end up becoming the new director. That would be the death of everything.
I don't even think it's that, like, it was just not planned out in the way it should have been.
Yeah, that's the problem. We had a great plot on paper, but nothing was coordinated. It just felt like random events stuck together in the wrong order. It felt like
something
vignettes.
Like that.
It felt like vignettes that had nothing to do with each other and perhaps at least wrapped together with glue and tape.
Yeah. and
There was no
and
coherence.
I kind of let them get off with that because
The fake gameplay was great.
It's yeah,
That's
and it's a
right.
fighting game, and they wanted you and his friends bashing each other's heads in,
And they got
were
it.
like, you know what,
Fuck it.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's just have this be a petty god who thinks he's hot shit.
But the thing is, you could have made this work. You had the collective selfishness of all of Inaba, maybe even of all of the world. You could have made a great, meaningful plot of this, because everybody hates the NPCs in Persona games. You could have made this a great part of the social commentary. But instead, we got a Saturday morning villain. It's so embarrassing, because Kagutsuchi even at one point is like, wait, yeah, I had this great, amazing plan to use Teddy's buddy as a host, and that would have been very emotional because all of you would have been very depressed about me doing that. But no, I guess I'm not gonna do that.
Actually, I give up. You win.
Yes! And Teddy was just like, Teddy, is your will broken now? And Teddy was like, no? Curses! Foiled by me again!
Well.
Yes!
Well, I'm out, guys. See you next week.
Even though Teddy was pretty much broken at that point. And I was like,
Yeah, but it's like, I guess you're not broken enough. Oops.
Yeah. He would only have needed to push a little bit further, and that poor little bear would have crumbled like dust in his hands. It was so stupid. He already had.
It was
He already had
different.
Teddy at all his insecurities. Even his inner monologue was back right to where it was back when Teddy was at his absolute worst. But no, we can't have that. That would have required more time to write up. And our writers don't have time to write. What do you think? This game should have been delayed by 2 months or so, at least.
It's like, oops, gotta ship this, guys.
Yep. What the hell? But yeah, basically what we don't want is an incoherent waste of a plot, like in Ultimax. The gameplay was great.
I didn't even mind it that much because I just wanted another fighting game. So I was
we
like,
got that.
I guess the plot is plot. Okay.
Okay, that's the best reaction to Ultimax I've ever heard. Okay.
Okay.
The thing
This
is,
is the thing.
I was in denial about Ultimax at first. I was trying to justify this in my mind, but then I realized there is something good there, but it's not done right. This was rushed.
I need to make this clear that you and I have very different takes on how much we can suspend our disbelief.
That is true.
I can suspend my disbelief quite a bit because
I can't.
I just want to play the game.
I
Yeah.
can't. I overanalyze everything, and when you give me a perfect setup that could so easily be made into an amazing story, and you fuck it up. Sorry for my French. That just
Oh, we're not allowed to speak French here.
that just messes with
I guess
everything.
I dropped some French bombs before too.
I know. It's just
Yeah.
ah.
The thing that does stand out to me though about the Arena or Ultimax games is the first one was a lot more in depth.
Yeah.
And they kinda said, well, the first one was pretty good. Let's just go with this.
They rushed this because by that point the arcade version was already out 1 year, but they had 4 different games in production at the time. So they were like, oh shit, we can't just delay this any further. There won't be any PlayStation 3 anymore if we delay this any further. What do we do? Oh well, I guess we'll just rush it. No, never do that. Never do that. That's a bad idea, and you should feel bad about it. And this is like every time I hear somebody say, why is this game not coming out already? Jeez, everybody, it should be out already. What are these developers doing? I'm like, no, bad. You sit in a corner and think about what you've done. Because every time the fans start asking this, we get shit like that.
And
I mean,
let me quote Mr. Miyamoto. A delayed game is eventually good.
maybe.
maybe. It's at least more finished than an unfinished game.
Yeah, an unfinished game will forever be bad.
That's what he said, and it's it's not quite true these days, but
yeah,
it's still relevant.
Yeah,
still relevant.
Yeah, we don't want Mass Effect Andromeda, you guys. We don't.
Oh, that game.
So please don't summon that, and the next time I hear anybody complain that Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't out already, I'm like, shut the hell up and wait for it until it's finished.
There are so many games already, guys.
Yes, we got a lot of Kingdom Hearts. Don't act like we didn't get any. And I know, we're all traumatized from Half-Life 3 never happening. But let it go, guys. That was Half-Life. That was one game. Let it go.
So, just as a joke suggestion, who do you think should direct Half-Life 3?
Me.
Because
me.
Yes. yeah. I want that. Do it.
Because I don't trust Valve anymore with games at this point. Because look, I guess Hearthstone is pretty popular. Let's do that. What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell, Valve? That's not what your games are about. You used to make Portal and shit.
Yeah. Thinking with portals.
But that was
now
cool.
You just think now you just think with Steam wallets instead. And freaking trading cards on Steam. What the hell is that?
Honestly, the change in directorial, a change in directorial could mean pretty much anything at this point. Like, what else did I write on this little convenient list that I wrote for us? Right, I also wrote Metal Gear. Yeah, this is another thing. Like, we were talking about the new director possibly respecting the vision of Hashino too much. We can also go into the other direction. The completely other direction.
Yeah.
Not respecting Hashino's vision at all. As is the case with poor Kojima, bless his heart. He tried so hard and got so far, and again, it didn't even matter. I mean, now he's doing well now, so I'm glad for that. But what the hell?
he's got it laid out for him.
Yeah,
but yeah, Metal Gear Survive.
What the hell? Why though? Why Konami?
Hey guys, you know what Metal Gear missed? Zombies.
What the fuck, even Konami? Honestly, I don't understand.
The most cynical, most ridiculous, most high on drugs suggestion.
I don't understand what they're trying to do there. And oh god.
Make money.
Just imagine this is what the next director on Persona ends up doing. Just like, what does the flowchart say?
What does the AAA industry have these days? Microtransactions?
I guess you're paying for
DLC?
Persona. You're
pre-order bonuses?
You're paying for your Personas now, you guys. No, it's all microtransactions. You get one.
Igor just wanted to pimp out his new ride, and it's like, hey, give me money.
You get like one free Persona a day as like a trial because there's a night. Nice, and the rest of them come in loot boxes.
and it's mobile exclusive. You now. When you fight a random encounter, you have to use your action meter and have action points.
And there's a story mode, but you have to spend most of your action points trying to do 1 minute of the story mode before it holds you up again and tells you, wait, do you want to pay some churros for this Kingdom Hearts chi?
Yeah.
What the hell, even?
Thank God Square Enix didn't pick up Persona.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, I love Kingdom Hearts, but I don't love Square Enix. I hope Nomura quits. After Kingdom Hearts, I hope Nomura quits Square Enix and joins Kojima or something.
Yeah. We should just have all these creators making their own studio.
Yep. Like Yuji Naka, for example, and while we're on Yuji Naka, we had a bad example of somebody else taking control of the series now. Now let's go to a good examples, and it's a very recent one. It can be done right. You can do something somebody else has done before and make it be even better, even if you're not that person. And I present exhibit number S, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic
Number
Mania.
S, because it went too fast.
So Sonic Mania was pretty good.
Sonic Mania is actually really great, yeah.
Yeah, so it can be done. You can do it if somebody actually passionate about something is on it.
Yeah, if you actually give a crap about your own creative vision.
Exactly, like that's also the thing with Sonic Mania was very true to what like the old Sonic games did. But they also did some of their own stuff, like the transitions and the visuals and the music.
Yeah.
So this is like the
absolutely.
perfect example of how to do something like this, like how to give somebody else a property and it is still handled with grace and love. And basically I just hope if the next person decides to if the next director decides to step into Hashino's footsteps, I hope it's somebody who's really, really, really passionate about Persona and really, really damn talented. Because honestly, what I want is either a completely fresh take or somebody who's not just in it for the money, but is in it because they wanted this series to continue with just as much amazement as it has had ever since the first game. Because I love Hashino's games the most, but I'll be the first to admit that the old games were pretty amazing too. They had their issues, especially with controls and such. But I would never say that Persona 1 and Persona 2 were bad games. Not at all. They were amazing. But I also think it was great that they got a new direction when they did, because at the time that was one of what it was a good thing to happen to them. That's my honest opinion. So
yeah, and it's a bit depressing these days though, with video game publishers just want to rake in all the money, not just some, but all the money.
And then you get microtransactions and barely written plots and faces that look like they come from Mars.
It's like they just want to have money without effort, and it's
No.
a little bit depressing.
Little bit
But,
is, as a gamer you can't say little bit.
Fair enough.
It's
Extremely depressing.
extremely depressing, that's the better word.
So I hope there are some stalwart champions who don't compromise their vision.
Not compromise. Yeah, that's the point. Do not compromise your vision. Either do it because you're very passionate about it, or do your own thing while still being respectful. But don't just look at the flowchart and try to do what the flowchart would do. The flowchart is not a person.
Then you're not doing a game anymore, then you're doing a formula.
Exactly. And we're not. I mean, there's a lot of maths in game programming, but this is not what games are about. This is not what they're supposed to be about.
Games start out as ideas, and ideas don't start out as how do I make the most money?
I understand. I understand. Video game companies are businesses. They need to make money. But I think the most money is made, ironically, by not thinking about it until you get the money. Not always. You have to also take business decisions into account. But if you're really passionate and don't make the kind of game you think people would like to play. Make the kind of game that you think you would like to play. Because guessing what somebody else would like is always less accurate than guessing what you like. And just hope. Well, you also have to hope that you have a good taste in video games there. But that's an issue. That's an issue of talent. That's an issue of talent. If you're a talented person, just make the game you would want to play. And be very dedicated to making the game that you would want to play. And if you have the talent, the skill, it will work. Hopefully. With some luck.
With some luck. There's always some
But then,
aspect of
if
luck.
you're in a pre-established franchise, then you don't even need the luck. But because people will buy it either way.
Yeah.
It's just, will they buy the next one after that is the question.
Yeah. And, I forget what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
You want to. I don't want to talk as if I'm a freaking game developer. I'm not, but.
We're not now.
But yeah, it's a business and it's a job, and you have to think about what will be successful to some extent. Yes, but I think a lot of people who dream about developing games do it because they have a vision and an idea that they dreamt about because they played like Super Mario or Sonic or Metal Gear Solid or Persona or any game really.
Yeah.
And
if you get something,
and I think we all love games because of the fantasies they gave us, and
the reason
and yeah, that's why I don't want to see it become like this formulaic, cynical business practice that's just out to be a cash cow for whatever publisher.
The reason Satomi Tadashi and Katsura Hashino were so great at doing Persona like they did is because they both had a huge passion for the human condition and for writing about telling a story about the human condition in game form. And I think that's what Atlus needs to keep in mind now. They need to give the series over to somebody who has the same passion. And it doesn't matter whether they will express it the same way that Tadashi did or that Hashino did. It should matter if they can do it well. And I really hope they know exactly whom to give this responsibility, and they know that this person will do it right. And that this person will do the series justice. Not necessarily by doing the series exactly as it has been done so far, but just by
Preferably
doing it.
not.
Well, I mean, they can't. I mean, Sonic Mania worked, so.
Sure, but even that's kind of different from the old ones to some degree.
That is true. Just do that. This is a mesh that the person will never see this, but just on the off chance that somehow, by some magical coincidence, they do. To the new director of the Persona series, just tell a story about the human condition as best as you can in a way that you're passionate about. That's the way you make a great Persona game. And that's all we want from you. I think this is...
And also your happiness and health.
Yes, that is very important too.
That would be nice. I don't want you to work yourself to death making this game.
Stay healthy, game developers! Be nice to us, but stay healthy!
Yeah.